Loving every day. That's Luke Bryant. Notice we got that little ending drum there. Yes. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of A Minnesota. We're on YouTube as always here. Dennis Luebbe is with me. He's the Rice County Highway Engineer. I caught up with Dennis at the Board of Commissioners work session yesterday. After the meeting, I just so happened to be in the background there, Dennis. I was getting ready to ask you to come on the show today when you hit upon a very interesting conversation about wild parsnip. We'll touch on that in the next segment. How's that sound?
Good morning. That sounds great, Gordy.
Yeah. Well, the improvement plan for 2016 through 2025 is out, right?
Yeah, the board approved of that document that you're looking at there in May, and we're well into 2016 construction right now. So we could talk a lot about the 5 or 6 projects we've got going on right now and inconveniencing some folks, but certainly working towards making the roadway system a little bit better when we're all done.
Now, you know how much I love roundabouts.
I knew you were going to get to that. We have one on that plan you're holding.
Where is this going to be located?
There is one programmed with Scott County, the very northern side of Rice County.
No surprise there, because I call New Prague roundabout.
Yeah. We show one right now. We're scheduled to deliver a roundabout on County Road 46 and County Road 86, again, the very northern tip of Rice County and Scott County, in 2018.
We're only going to see more of these, aren't we, Dennis?
Well, that's the only one we have in our program, but I do think, again, you'll see more across the state, whether it's the MnDOT doing them on their trunk highways, or larger counties are building quite a few of them. You know, you go in the metro, you can't travel too far now, I think, without traversing one.
Because they're more efficient?
I think they're much more efficient at reducing severe crashes. And I think they're many times much more efficient at cycling people through intersections instead of, stop controlled or stop light systems. You know, you're moving, keeps traffic flowing.
You've been to the one over in Mankato, the multiple lane one that you go into?
I traveled that several times in the last 3 weeks. Yeah.
First time I went in there, I couldn't believe it.
Well, it's certainly different. I mean, obviously it's different, and there's a little caution that everyone has to exercise doing anything different, whether it's driving a multi-lane roundabout or operating that weed whip for the first time.
Well, I have to tell you that as I was entering the roundabout, there was a young lady next to me on her cell phone texting.
Well, that's illegal, right?
Well, I know that, but I held back. She was in the lane next to me. I stopped back and I said, I don't know what this woman's going to do. She's on her phone. I'm going to lay back here and wait and see.
Yep. Well, I mean, unfortunately, we do have folks who make it a little more challenging for some of us to drive by the behaviors that they choose to exhibit. So, yeah.
Texting on a stretch of straight roadway is one thing. Texting in the middle of a 2-lane roundabout.
Well, both of them are not advised.
No, I know that, and they're both illegal. But I mean, one makes a little more sense than the other if you're going to do it. I don't text, so.
Good for you. I try not to.
I mean, I text, but I don't text while I'm driving.
Yeah, we don't.
I don't know how you could.
We don't want to. I don't know how they do it either.
I don't even like to phone while I'm driving. You know what I'm saying?
Your first duty is to be in control of your vehicle.
So if I'm reading this right, we've got about $10.1 million worth of road projects here in 2016.
That was put together last spring, or actually earlier this year and late last year. I think a project or two has slipped. Our legislature was not able to agree on transportation funding, so consequently that package didn't get approved. If you remember, there was no bond funding by the legislature, and a project in there included revenue or proceeds from the bond, so we dropped the bridge. I think we're on track to probably deliver $9 million for projects.
Well, we're going to take a little break here, get our opening market report. Then when we come back with Dennis, I kind of overheard a conversation commissioners and Dennis were having about wild parsnip and ditches along county roads. I did a little research on this nasty weed. We'll talk about that when AM Minnesota continues.
At 404 1/4. July wheat in Chicago is 5 1/4 higher at 463 1/2. June live cattle 37 lower at 114.67. August feeders 57 lower, 138.67. July lean hogs are 2 cents higher at 86.22, with the August contract up a nickel at 88.52. Tom Stever, Brownfield.
Thanks. Thanks, Tom. Certainly appreciate that. Your opening market report is a service of your KDHL Agri Boosters. They include Ag Power Enterprises, your John Deere dealer with locations in Owatonna, Hollandale, Belle Plaine, also Osage and Northwood, Iowa. Get one of those big boom sprayers and spray all the ditches. Anyway, Northland Buildings for quality post-frame construction. Go to the website northlandbuildings.com. Dennis Luebbe is Rice County's highway engineer, and I know his department would love to have some cost-effective solutions for dealing with the wild parsnip that's all over our county. We'll talk about that in a moment. We were talking about the what is this, the 10-year plan here
Yep.
for the county in terms of road construction, and you said one of these items was not in here. Is that the County Road 8?
I said this year we probably dropped a township bridge that we were going to rebuild, but there wasn't bond funds to help pay for the structure, so that's not going to be delivered.
You know which one?
If you let me look at it, I can.
Oh,
I think
I'm
it's
sorry. I thought you had a copy
no,
of
I
this
mean, it's
too.
no
I'm
big
sorry.
deal. That's yeah, we have 3 bridges we're going to deliver this year. Well, we would have had the legislature pass some bonding funds, but we have a County Road 90 bridge in Richland Township, the first one on that list there.
Did this come about after the Highway Interstate 35 bridge collapse?
No, I would say not. The county, Rice County's been very proactive replacing and addressing the bridge needs. We have 143 structures that we're responsible for. We've had a healthy bridge replacement program long before the I-35 catastrophe.
You said 143 bridges?
That's 100, yes, yeah. But by definition, by the state of Minnesota's definition, Rice County has 143 bridges that we're responsible to maintain and reconstruct when necessary.
Not all of these bridges are passable by automobile.
They are, yeah, no, they are. All of them are open to legal loads. We do have, I think, just 4 restricted bridges in the system.
Okay.
So our system is really close to being without restrictions. I mean, I think we've done a very good job.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So, yeah, we're proud of that. And the county and the townships, we work with the 14 townships in Rice County. The highway department provides bridge construction services to them. So several of those bridges are on township roads. But
being a highway engineer, that had to, well, it was a scary day for all of us, but you had to marvel at it too, didn't you?
You're talking about the collapse?
The bridge, yeah, the bridge collapse.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a sad, just a horrible day.
What are the odds? You know what I'm saying?
Well, they're unbelievably infinitesimally small, but you know, it's human nature, and we're not perfect, so I don't, you know, it's a bad deal.
But I seem to recall after that happened, there was some sort of a legislative directive that every county would be checking their bridges.
Well, that existed prior to the failure, Gordy. I mean, there's federal rules requiring the frequency of bridge inspections, and Minnesota actually has a stronger than average national rule. Minnesota is more aggressive, and this was before the I-35 catastrophe. We were more aggressive than this federal program required. So
that's no surprise. Minnesota's more aggressive than federal in a lot of it.
Yeah, we are, and that's a good thing, and it's a challenging thing at the same time. But so we have bridge inspectors in Rice County every single year, and they review some structures every single year. They get looked at least once. Newer structures, we have more comfort with those, so some of those structures get inspected every other year, and then some very basic and solid designs like those big concrete box culverts that we have quite a few of, we can actually feel comfortable without inspecting them. Well, we inspect them maybe once every 4 years. So we have different cycles, but we manage all those and we're on top of them.
Was it last year or the year before the county board decided to impose this sales tax for transportation?
Rice County Board of Commissioners adopted the sales tax effective in 2014. And so we collected revenues beginning in 2014, and last year, 2015, is when we started to use those revenues to build and improve the system.
What does that raise? Do you know?
We're right about $3 million a year. The half a cent sales tax on all on the sales events that are taxable. Not everything's taxable, but it's generating right at $3 million a year. All of that money is in that document there. It goes into the road construction program, and we've got many projects listed. In fact, I don't have the handout for you, but about half of our construction program is funded by that sales tax.
The wheelage tax?
The wheelage tax generates $500,000 a year. That's on registered vehicles, primarily autos. That generates about $500,000 a year, and that has been dedicated to the maintenance side of the department's responsibilities. So we're out there, like today, we're out mowing wild parsnips and thistles to try to control the spread of those noxious weeds. And earlier this month, we've been out crack filling hundreds of miles of our pavement and mowing the safety swath. We did that in early June. There's a lot of maintenance on 430-mile system.
Yeah. Well, what is $1 million or $2 million a mile or something for?
Well, our average for reconstruction, complete reconstruction, is about $1 million a mile now.
Isn't that something?
It's not an undertaking to look at lightly. It's a significant investment of taxpayer dollars to maintain that highway system.
Yeah, I know you said yesterday at the county work session there are over 400 miles of road that you guys have to manage.
Yeah, we have 431 miles on our systems. So somebody said, I think that's like driving from here to Chicago.
431 miles of roads. 79 of those are gravel.
Excellent memory. That was the presentation yesterday. We have 79 miles of gravel road. If you think about it, and this is how I've presented it to some groups, is the highway and the interstate system that the feds operate and maintain, that carries hundreds of thousands of vehicles. Your alley that you were talking about earlier only carries a few cars a day, okay? But the county highway systems are like everything in between there. We have high volume roads that carry 12,000 vehicles a day, and we have some gravel roads that carry less than 40 vehicles a day. So we have a lot of different needs, a big diversity there we're trying to serve. The presentation yesterday was a low volume road. We've worked closely with Wheeling Township officials. They're receptive to the idea that we turn that road back over to the township. It's my opinion, and I think the county board feels the same way, that the township can provide adequate service for the folks who use that road at a lower cost. It's all taxpayer money. They can provide adequate service at a lower cost than having Rice County go out to kind of a remote part of the township to blade. This is a 3-mile segment. So we're moving forward on discussions to turn that back officially to the township.
Yeah, well, there have been other discussions with other towns about turning back roads too, I know in the past.
It's kind of a continuous discussion because we live in a dynamic environment. Roads are changing. The development along certain roads changes much faster in some locations, so the nature and the purpose of the road has to be looked at. The county has, and not just Rice County, every county has modified its system over the years, just like the cities and the state has as well. So,
you know what amazes me? We can land people on the moon. We can send spaceships to Mars and into outer space, and we can't come up with a road that doesn't have potholes.
Well, we can do that for a long time, but I guess the evolution of a road, more than likely after some time, maintenance becomes a problem, and potholes do form. Certainly, gravel roads are much more susceptible to that. It's just a much more hands-on maintenance. So, boy, if you could come up with that, then I think you could
retire.
You could look, alternative employment.
I wouldn't have to be here every day. I could travel the world and see all kinds of great things. By the way, tomorrow George Wickstrom, Cindy Deisner will be with us to talk about a project here in the city of Faribault. We'll talk about it tomorrow on AM Minnesota, and we're going to talk about the tractor parade over between Basin Spring Garden churches on Friday as we travel to Cannon Falls on Friday. Speaking of Cannon Falls, Cannon Valley Fair is coming up. Isn't that amazing? Cannon Valley Fair coming up. Next Friday we'll be doing a show from the Cannon Valley Fair on the fairgrounds in Cannon Falls. So we're looking forward to that. Queens of the Paradise Theater, Heather Neal, Julie Faulkner will be in studio on Monday. Al Spitzak joins us on Wednesday of next week to talk about North Morristown's 4th of July celebration that they have every year. 4th of July is on a Monday this year. If you haven't looked at the calendar, it's on a Monday. 4th of July is on a Monday. Dennis Luebbe is with us. He is the Rice County Highway Engineer. One of the things we wanted to talk about was this nasty wild parsnip, yellow parsnip, whatever you want to, I guess it's called both, that's along the ditches. You were just saying that you're mowing?
We sent out 6 of our men this morning to start the process of trying to control it with mechanical mowing. We do have some calls in regarding how widespread that is. It has slowly spread through the county, or it might spread rapidly depending on your point of view. But you know, it is something that folks ought to be aware of if they're not, primarily because it's kind of like poison ivy. If you walk into stands of this, and it's a tall plant right now it's blooming. Some of it has a yellow head on it, and it kind of looks to me like dillweed, if you ask me. But you do not want to get that product or the sap on your skin.
No, I just held up a picture showing the arm of a guy. It's pretty nasty, the blistering that you can get from this, and the burn. It's like a sunburn. It burns your skin.
That's what I understand, and so we've cautioned all of our employees to be aware of that. I mean, we're out in the ditches a lot doing culvert maintenance work and even mowing, so folks need to be aware of that. I think we have information on the Rice County webpage if folks want to go to www.rice.co and look for that highway page, or call my office and we can get folks information regarding that. But I think that's why it's on Minnesota's list of weeds to control, because it's kind of a public health issue. A lot of people like to walk. You were mushroom hunting, others do that. I mean, there's exposure concern there. So
yeah, well, I mean, it's not fatal, I don't think, but
I don't believe so.
It's pretty nasty stuff.
It can be bad. I think if you're in the roadside and you're concerned you might have walked through it, I'm looking at the literature. If you wash that off within 24 to 48 hours, I think you might be okay. So.
I do believe we have a listener on the line. Good morning, you're on AM Minnesota.
Good morning. I had a question. From cement road to a tar, what is the price difference?
I'm sorry, I didn't
Price
hear the
difference between the tar and the gravel road.
Oh, well, that's considerable. Again, we talked earlier about reconstructing a gravel road or even a paved road. When we completely reconstruct it, we're looking at $1 million a mile when you add up all the components of that. We have 79 miles of gravel roads. We're resurfacing about 20 of those miles this year. Right now we have a contract out, so on an annual basis we have to resurface those gravel roads. That can run about $30,000 a mile.
Versus $1 million.
Yeah, that's just resurfacing it. Doesn't improve the width or the crown, or that's just an annual ongoing cost for a gravel road. If you think about it, once we rebuild that road or put tar on it, pave it, our maintenance costs will drop after that. We don't have to go resurface it every year, but so they're a horse apiece. I think there's a significant difference in the level of service, and that equates to a different cost.
That answer your question, sir?
And a cement road, does you know the price of the cement? They do the state highways, does you know the price of the cement versus the tar?
No.
Did you catch that?
Excellent question. In fact, one of our projects this year is a concrete road. In fact, north of Faribault on Bagley Avenue, County Road 46, all the way up to our roundabout that you enjoy so much.
I know.
That's 7 miles. We've awarded a contract for $6.2 million to resurface that in concrete. Concrete and asphalt have become very competitive in initial costs. Initial costs, obviously, when you're buying or investing in something, initial cost is one component, but then look at the life cycle of it. With a concrete road, we could probably certainly not have to go out and seal coat it or resurface it like we have to with a bituminous road. So initial cost is one thing, but we look at life cycle costs. So if you think about owning it for 50 years, how many times are you going to have to go out and resurface it, seal coat it, pothole patch it, all of the things we do. Concrete is very competitive with asphalt.
All right. That answer your question, sir?
Yeah.
Thanks for calling. I certainly do appreciate that. Some excellent questions there. We have very smart listeners, don't we?
Yes, you do. I enjoy the show.
Yeah, very, very smart listeners. Appreciate that call. They had some very good questions. Let's see, where were we? We were talking about the yellow wild parsnip, the stuff that can blister your skin. It's really nasty, can burn you.
It's something to be aware of. I mean, I don't think it would prohibit people from enjoying the outdoors. It's Minnesota. We have poison ivy. Everyone's, accepts that.
Yeah.
This is an invasive plant, as I understand it.
Yes, it's non-native. Yes.
Whereas poison ivy, everyone, hey, that's Minnesota. We have poison ivy. So, but I think it's kind of on par with poison ivy, at least from what I understand.
Right.
The symptoms and the problems it can create. But we were doing some analysis, and we have again like over 400 miles of roadway, which is 800 miles of ditches. And I think it's safe to say that Rice County Highway Department has over 2,000 acres of yard, if you want to think about it that
Yeah.
way.
What I suggested to Dennis, well, I'm not the only one, other people have suggested that they spray the ditches.
Yeah. And we're looking at that, and I think we're going to take some steps forward in a pilot project at least to see how effective that is. It's certainly something.
Well, it has to be more effective than mowing.
Well, it certainly can be, but there's also side effects of spraying that are maybe more detrimental than just mowing. So, drifting spray can create problems. The timing of the spray, weather dependent, the cost of it. The effectiveness is certainly can be controlled, but we have to make sure we don't blanket spray everything and kill everything in the ditch along with we don't want to kill the desirable plants while we're trying to target the non-desirable ones. So, there's competing interests here. But we're going to be looking at it. Yesterday was that meeting, and there's some budget. We're in the middle of putting together a 2017 budget. I'm hopeful that we'll have some targeted spraying for next year to see how that works for us in Rice County with our needs and our goals.
Yeah. Well, one would think if you hit it before it started to flower, you'd be in good shape.
Yeah, and that's a challenge to identify exactly where it is before it starts to flower. It's obviously to see it now when it's flowering, it's easily recognizable.
Easier. Yeah, you're right.
I had some discussions earlier this morning with other officials in the county about how we could pinpoint where our infestations are the greatest. It's not everywhere, but it's in many parts of the county, and certainly the township road systems as well.
So here's an idea. We'll see how far this goes, folks. Here's an idea. How about have the owners of the property next to these ditches take care of that, and then you being the county would reimburse them, and then you wouldn't have manpower out there mowing all the ditches.
Well, that is an idea, Gordy.
What do you think?
I don't know. I think that's an idea that might be very difficult to manage. So I think historically the county would accept the responsibility of managing all of the right-of-way. Now, that's not to say there are many hundreds, if not thousands, of landowners who do excellent job managing the right-of-ways in front of their operations, whether it's rural residential or agriculture or even commercial. So, and I should take a second here to recognize all those folks, because they actually do a lot of work, which allows us to focus on other needs within our system and our resources when we don't have to mow all of those ditches. A lot of folks mow and take great care. But in terms of applying that to parsnip control or other noxious weeds, purple loosestrife, leafy spurge, and some of the thistles, I think that we could look at that. I'm not sure that would probably advance too far once we looked at all the challenges that would create.
Isn't the Soil and Water Conservation District the noxious weed people here in Rice County?
Well, Rice County has a weed commissioner who is responsible under statute to investigate and explore compliance with state statutes. The county has the Soil Water Conservation District right now contracted to manage the county's ditch system.
Right.
And then so he does some spraying to control weeds on that system. The highway department clearly has 400 miles of roadway we're challenged to maintain. So we have different pieces of different levels of government working on kind of the same thing, different areas. But we've been talking about what works best for you may not work for us in our roadway environment.
Well, we're not the only county to deal with this. This is all over Minnesota, isn't it?
I think all 87 counties in Minnesota have it. I was reading some literature. It's in Ontario, Canada. It's everywhere, and it's a challenge. I think the first thing we have to really focus on is what's our goal. I don't think we can eradicate it. So our goal is to control it, and maybe our goal is to look at the public safety of the people who use the roadsides because it has the poison ivy type,
bottom line, stay out of the ditches.
Well, or be aware of it. So education clearly is number one. Minimize the spread. Again, I don't think it's practical to eradicate it. We can slow it down and educate and provide opportunities perhaps to control it, but eradicate, I'm not sure that's possible.
Yeah, it really takes over areas from what I read.
It certainly can, and I think there's certainly a environmental issue with that. I was doing some reading though where I think it said in some well-established stands of vegetation, it can't find its way into that, so we don't have to worry too much about that. Or when we start going in to disturb the soil, if we wanted to, one of the methods is to cut the roots. Well, we clearly can't do that, but landowners could do that on their own in their yards or their fields or their garden. That's an application that works at that scale. Doesn't work for a highway system to go in and be that invasive. So as usual, there's not one solution that works for everybody.
So if I'm hearing you right, the idea now is we're going to mow all these ditches.
Rice County has historically just mowed. I mean, we do not have, we don't have an established spray program. We've done some very limited spot spraying of noxious weeds, leafy spurge, some thistles, but as a routine maintenance approach, we do not have a spray program. I think we'll be having serious discussions about what's our goal to control wild parsnips, and is a spray program the way to reach that goal.
All right. Well, thanks, Dennis, for coming in today and educating us about that.
Appreciate it. Always good to be here.
We can't avoid it if we're not educated about it. Wow. You're in tune to KDHLAM, Faribault, Minnesota. In tomorrow, George Wickstrom, Cindy Deaster are our guests, as we're going to head up to ABC News, get the latest.